I went through a very different developmental process while working on my new short film, Redone. I've made a lot of animated shorts over the past few years, most don't take more than 2 months, but Redone I've been working on and off since February. With Redone I went more in depth than ever to shape nearly every aspect of the film. Never since Parallel, my first real attempt at creating an animated film, have I gone this in depth with all the different aspects that make up one of these videos. I actually created a sketchbook as one of my college modules, documenting the whole process. You see, a lot of the time I wing it. I do a little bit of concept art, testing and storyboards, but not nearly as much as I think would do the project justice. Whether that's because I'm too busy or I just get bored with the idea after a while, I don't know. Not exactly saying that any of my past projects were rushed or unfinished. Definitely not unfinished. I do work on these animations for months, but I can't help but feel slightly unsatisfied with nearly every single one of them looking back. Redone was an animation I really wanted to get right. No regrets, no shortcuts. Hope you enjoy this video, detailing the creation of the short. The story of the short is of a small robot, I nicknamed him Dinobot, who wakes up remembering only the fragmented, broken, cycling recordings of his creator, Guy. The robot is more or less a child, ignorant and in awe of everything around him. He's the first of his kind, a super intelligent AI, extremely versatile and can learn. But when Dinobot wakes up, he awakes many years after the death of the human race. He's completely naive to this, and he explores the beautiful ruins, looking for his creator, looking for anything, looking for answers. The story of the short was something I've had rattling around the back of my head for a while. I've tried multiple times to get an animation like this off the ground, where a robot awakes, after a long slumber, only to wake up to a world without humans, without their creators. I've tried this 3 different times now, and it's never quite worked, and I just never finished those animations. For this short I expanded on the idea a little, with the concept that maybe the robot in question is partially responsible for the death of their creator. For it was robots based on him, the prototype, that helped wipe out the human race. This became sort of the whole concept behind the story and themes. The ending of this short is deliberately open-ended and slightly vague. I like the idea that you can interpret whatever you want from the ending, and whatever truly happened while Dinobot was asleep. There are 2 characters in this animation, well, technically 3, but we'll get to that. The robot, I nicknamed Dinobot, and the creator, I nicknamed Guy. Starting with Guy, I wanted his character to be charismatic, smart, but somewhat dim-witted and relatable. Sort of like an older brother type. I didn't go through a lot of design work, just a few doodles, but I quickly became satisfied with his look. His recordings during the creation of Dinobot were heavily based on Tadashi's recordings during the creation of Baymax and Big Hero 6, which I'm sure some of you noticed. But I was definitely aiming for less heartwarming and more melancholy and bittersweet. And then came the lead character, Dinobot. I went through a lot of sketches and doodles of this guy. This was the first, and this was back in January, when we were playing a family game of Stop the Bus, where I just couldn't think of any answers, I just started doodling. After I started working on the short, the game Horizon Zero Dawn came out, and I was totally inspired by the robot design. A lot of you have already mentioned the similarities between the short and that game. I went through a ton of different looks and designs for Dinobot, some more menacing, some more complicated, but still adhering to that original sketch. Eventually I settled on this little doodle. I needed his design to reflect his young age, his naivety and his innocence. So he's got a big fishbowl face, gangly frame and a big head and feet. Minimalist too, to blend with the backgrounds. I just really wanted him to look young and playful. Also he kinda looks like the 9th and 10th Doctor's sonic screwdriver with legs. Oh well. I put more work into the environmental design of this short than probably any other aspect. The world in this animation is a character of its own, I think. It's completely dead but full of life, absolutely ruined but beautiful. I started from environmental art from The Last of Us, seeing as that game also has a nature-consumed post-apocalyptic world, but I really wanted to put my own spin on it. I went adventuring, out into the countryside of Scotland. My brother and I would have adventures, and I'd take pictures. It was easily one of the best and most influential ideas I came up with for this project. We went to see castles, forests, hills and beaches. One of my favourite locations we went to was the Crook of Devon, which was more or less a river, but it was pretty. And then in complete contrast there was the abandoned Fever Hospital. This place is an abandoned hospital slash mental hospital slash hotel, and it was creepy. Awesome, but creepy. It also didn't help that we went in the pouring rain. The animation was all very loosely storyboarded. It's not my proudest artwork, but it definitely helped me map out the pacing, camera angles, and the flow of the short, being so visually driven as it is. Now, a lot of people ask me how technically I achieve this art style, because it is a blend of 2D and 3D animation, and a lot of people don't seem to know where the 2D stops and the 3D begins. I'm going to try and explain it here. All of the characters and creatures are 3D animated, they're all cel-shaded 3D models like this one. Now, for example, I'll show you a shot from the animation, this one, and I will now break it down. Let's break it down! I start in Blender with a mock-up, low-poly world and the finished 3D characters. I then animate the characters just like you would a normal 3D animation in the world. Now, once the shot's completely animated, I render a frame of the low-poly world and bring it into Photoshop. I then have to decide how many layers the environment will have to be. I know there's going to be vegetation and flowers in front of Dinobot, and there's going to be the shed wall behind him. I broke this particular shot down into 4 layers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, in Blender, I assign these layers to different planes, at certain distances away from the camera. I then added some simple 2D animated flowers to add a little bit more life. I then slide the camera from left to right, and it gives this sort of false 3D effect. But, if I were to move the camera completely out, the effect falls to pieces, and you can see the different layers. It's all a trick. This is the effect I came up with during my Bastion animation and have been using for all of my Overwatch shorts, with slight tweaks here and there to each of them. The themes are some of, in my opinion, the most important aspects of stories, of films, of anything. Especially short films. I think the theme of a short film is the most important part. They make you think and question, and it's what you remember. Once the story's groundwork was established, I experimented with different themes. This short, I wanted to be quite vague and open-ended so you could sort of get whatever you want from it. The theme is what you make of it. But analysing this short, and it's kind of vague, but one of my personal favourite themes of this short is that of rebirth. And I'll explain. The reason these robots resemble dinosaurs is because they are such a symbolic icon of extinction. Having dinosaurs replace humans and having nature swallow up our concrete cities again gave me this idea of an everlasting cycle. Everything dies, everything is reborn. There's a reason Dinobot is replaying those recordings over and over and over again, and there's a reason the last shot in this short so closely resembles one of its opening ones. It's a cycle. The idea behind this short is that everything is temporary, everything will die, everything is reborn, and everything repeats. Everything is redone. But that is only my interpretation. I very deliberately left the story quite open-ended so anyone can see anything they want to in this short. They can make of it whatever they want, just like art. And hell, I'll probably change my mind too. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this insight on what goes into creating one of these animated short films. This was actually pretty fun to make, this little video. Like I said, I don't usually do this much work on a single film. Not with the adventures and the sketchbook and the concept art, but I do think it drastically improved the final product. And I truly recommend a process like this if you ever attempt one of your own. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and I hope you did. And do. Bye.